Yeah.
You can answer, Grandpa. You can
Huh?
answer to me. Just talk to me. It's okay. You don't have to write it down.
Oh, okay.
You can just talk to me like you're telling a story.
Well,
I have to record you.
I can tell you, back then, Uncle Dan,
Mm-hmm.
he had he worked at a barber shop there in Elwood,
Mm-hmm.
and you could get a cut and a shave for a quarter.
That's so cheap. Now it's like $5.
Yeah, well, and then Dillinger,
Mm-hmm.
he used to run whiskey out of Canada, and he'd stop and I'd fill him up with gas there in Tipton when we had the garage there.
Mm-hmm.
I just threw him, and he'd always he'd leave me one of them. It was in a little kind of a grass sack.
Mm-hmm.
It was real good whiskey. It was, they could have whiskey in Canada, but you couldn't have it in the States yet.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Now, what else do you want to know? Oh, the music. The music that they had back then. That was during. What's that boy that bought the Cadillacs and give them to people?
Elvis?
Huh?
Elvis?
Oh, not Elvis, but
Costello?
no, Hank Williams.
Hank Williams?
No. Now isn't that something? He lived down in Georgia, I think. It's down there. It's all kind of my name. Or that's something.
Well, go on to the next one.
Okay, what about...
Oh, well, we had fun at Tipton Park. Tipton had a real nice park, and we had lots of fun out there at the park.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd go out there, and when the water would come up and the fish would come up in there, well, we used to get a lot of fish out of that creek down there. We'd take a big long pole and put grab hooks on it, and throw them out and get the fish that way. They'd come up, they'd come up in a bunch,
Mm-hmm.
and we'd throw in there and you could snare them. And isn't that funny? And
What was school like?
huh?
What was school like?
Oh, school was really nice. Yeah, I went to Tipton High School, and we played basketball, and I was in a play during I forget what part of it that I was in, but then I was in a nice play that we had there, in the school, you know,
Mhm.
and Tipton High, and it was a real nice school, and Coach Jones, he was our coach, and I'll never forget. I was pretty husky at that time,
Uh-huh.
and he wasn't too big a fella. He was kind of small, you know. But anyway, we'd play. We put a pad down, and then we'd play. We'd wrestle to see who could keep take him off of the pad,
Mhm.
and so I put them all off, but him, and he wanted me to wrestle with him, so I put him off too. Yeah, and Steeman was our. He was over the Tipton High School, and then Steeman and I forget. I had a history teacher, I had an English teacher, and I got a good education.
Mhm.
I got a real good education.
Did you go to college?
Huh?
College?
No, I went to college in Indianapolis
Mhm.
for one season to read blueprints,
Uh-huh.
and I come out with an A, and I was in construction.
Mhm.
So what I did, I went there to get some information about working on construction. So, and then I was on construction. I was on construction for 40 years.
Oh, wow.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
And I worked mostly on power plants.
Mhm.
And well, the last big job I was on was right there in Indianapolis on it's where that big smokestack they built down there. You've seen it.
Oh, by the fairgrounds?
Yeah. And there at the
Power and Light.
uh-huh. And I helped build that.
That's so cool.
Uh-huh.
I think he worked on a dam.
And
Didn't you build a dam?
what?
A dam?
Oh, I worked on the dams. I worked on that dam that crosses the river there at Noblesville. They put a dam across there, and I worked on it for. Oh, I was there a long time. Yeah, I don't know exactly how long, but anyway, I worked all over. I worked on bridges. I worked on dams, and you remember when they moved that big building down there in Indianapolis, that one that the telephone company moved that great big building
Yeah.
around? I was on that.
They rotated it.
Yeah. And oh gee, I got in on a lot of the building, and it was good work.
Mhm.
I was never out of work very long. If I finished one place, they most generally had another place where they'd send me to another company, you know.
Mhm.
And that way I didn't have to look for work. It was waiting on me.
Can you tell me about the Great Depression?
About what?
The Great Depression?
Yeah, the Great Depression. Boy, I mean, it was bad. And that was when you could go to the picture show and for dime, and I forget what popcorn was. I think it was a nickel. You could get a great big sack of popcorn.
Oh wow.
And that was when I was growing up there in Elwood, and isn't that funny? And I can remember Grandpa was Herlock. He was a plaster, and he plastered and he worked with bricks and stuff, and once in a while when he'd have a job there in Elwood, why he'd pay me to take my wagon and haul his material around for him to from one place to another.
Uh-huh.
And but oh, it was rough back then. Boy, it was you and when I finally I worked on several different things before I got into construction, but after I learned it enough, I went down and went into the construction
Union?
in the union. I went in the union, and I was in the union then for up until I'm still in it. Yeah, I'm still in it. I'm drawing a pension out of my pension, out of my carpenter's.
Union, yeah.
That's real good, and it's funny. I'm trying to think of that. How could I? You know who it is. It was a boy that lived down in Georgia.
That gave away Cadillacs.
They gave away Cadillacs?
Who?
They gave away Cadillacs?
Well, he was just a young boy, and he did come out with a lot of good music and so forth. Yeah, but isn't that something now? I can't. It perturbs me to think that I can't, tell you.
It'll come to you. What else you got, Sam?
Okay. Well, Grandpa, of course, he worked mostly in the winter and in the summertime. They didn't work in the winter time, but they lived in a little house there in 1014 South A Street. He bought that lot when he and Grandma got married, and he borrowed the money off of Grandma's father, who was a doctor there in Elwood, and but Grandpa never did have an automobile. He walked where he went, or went by train, or went by bus whenever he was working places, and and he was lucky because he got to work quite a bit with he had a buddy that works with him, and they was really good at it, and so they got to do quite a bit of work there in Elwood, and then he worked some in Tipton, and then I think that one winter they even went down and worked in Florida, and you know, when they couldn't work up here, why they went down there and worked in Florida, and well, you could take half a dozen people and $1 and go to the grocery store and get enough food to fill you all up. Now you got $1 total. You can't. It don't buy very much.
No,
There's that much of a difference in okay. Yeah, we had a garage. Bernie Smith and I had a garage there in Tipton, and it was right next to the jail. And Dillinger, when he'd come through to fill up with gas, while we was open 24 hours a day, and he'd come in, and I greased his car and filled it up with gas, and I took care of him.
Did you know who he was?
Yeah, he was one of my stops, and we was right next to the jail.
Was he nice?
Yeah, he was a real good fella, as far as I could see. All he was doing carrying whiskey. But he had a nice little new car and everything, and he'd put that whiskey in the back. He took the back seats out of the car and made kind of a truck out of it, you know, and hauled it back and forth that way. And then, you know, my stepfather, he was on the police force there in Tipton, and so hey, business was business, and when you could make $1, you made it if it was possible. Yeah.
Can you tell me about Grandma Ebert?
Grandma Ebert?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Grandma Ebert. She lived there in Elwood, and bless her heart, she was the one that I'd go over and stay with Grandma Ebert sometimes, and I stayed with Grandma and Grandpa Herlock the rest of the time. When I was up until I was 7 years old, I stayed with them two families, you know, and Uncle Adrian, he had an old bicycle, and he fixed that old bicycle up for me, and I think I drove it for miles and miles and miles. And Don Rittenhouse was a friend of mine that lived across the street with his grandpa, or with his grandma. Grandma Judy was her name. And she'd sit by the stove and smoke her pipe. She smoked it. She had them clay pipes, you know, and she loved to smoke. So she'd sit by the fire, and we'd fill her pipe up for her and fix it so she could light it up and sit there and up on it.
Can you tell me about your wife? Your wife?
I met her there in Tipton, and we got married. Oh, we got married. I can't tell you exactly what year it was now, but we lived together for almost 60 years before she passed away she passed away in 90.
Hmm. Before I was born.
Yeah, oh, that was, uh-huh. Yeah,
Ask him how he met.
she's been gone for about 10 or 12 years.
How did you meet?
Well, she was a telephone operator,
Hmm.
and she walked back and forth to work. And one day I picked her up, drove her home, and we got acquainted that way. And then we finally decided we'd get married, and then we had 5 children.
Hmm.
Peggy was first, and then Jimmy was next, Frederick was next, and Billy passed away. That's all of them, isn't it?
Sue.
Huh?
Sue.
Sue.
And Sue. Yeah, I knew there was another. Sue was the last one. Yeah, she's the youngest. There's 20 years between my age and Peggy's age, and I think there's 20 years between. There's 20 years, and I had it figured up one time, the time between Sue and
Peggy.
I
That's all right. That's all right.
What was Grandma Peggy like when she was little?
She was a wonderful woman. Peggy.
Hmm.
Peggy. Oh, well, Peggy she's over here
Hmm.
in the rehab now.
Hmm.
But bless her heart, she was always the choice of the. She always she went to school and went to college and got married and had 2 children, and they're both
3.
doing real good. And
She had 4.
3.
4.
4.
Peggy,
Yeah.
4. My mom, Kevin, Chris, and Kent.
oh, okay, it's on
I
the
think
wall over there.
I think
Yeah.
that's it.
All right.
Uh,